Hey everyone, it is Wednesday, and that means I'm on the website and I am on YouTube. So if you've asked your questions and use the hashtag KatieFAQ, then I'm answering them for you right now. And on my website, if you get confused, it's under the community, and I think it has a plus symbol along the tabs. You hit that, you hit forums, and then you hit Q&A for videos. So you can find it that way. And I know there's a lot of questions on both sites, and I did my best to find the ones on YouTube. It makes it really easy because you can thumbs up a question, and then if you also have a similar question, you can give it a thumbs up, and if things get a couple of thumbs up, I'll make sure to put them in. Okay? Without further ado, question number 1. What are teachers' obligations regarding self-harm in high school? If a teacher discovers that a student self-harms, would they have to make contact with that student's parents? Now, I looked far and I looked wide, and there is nothing. Teachers are obligated, just as therapists, to report child abuse or neglect. Like if you're coming to school and you're not cleaned, or you don't have clean clothes, or you don't have your lunch and you're supposed to, you don't have your lunch money or your ticket or whatever, they have to report that sort of thing. As far as self-harm goes, they aren't obligated. That doesn't mean that they won't, but that means that it's not written. It's not a written rule. And probably because, my guess is, nothing's written because they're behind the times. They don't know what's going on. If you're suicidal and they worry that you're going to harm yourself, they are obligated, just like I am. But I honestly, if you have a teacher that you want to talk to and that's what you're worried about, I would talk to them and be honest. Depending on your situation, I know for many of my clients, self-harm isn't actually attempt at suicide. It's just a coping skill that they're using. So if that's the situation, my guess is that they won't, sorry, hair was tickling me. They won't report anything, and they're not obligated to do so. Okay? Question number 2. Katie, I recently told my therapist about my restrictive diet. She's been trying to start a discussion on my eating feelings, but I restrain myself from disclosing too much because I'm afraid I'll offend her in the process. I feel fat and I feel ugly, and I don't want to tell my therapist this because she's actually larger than me, and I worry that by expressing these thoughts, I'll imply that I consider her to also be fat and ugly, which I don't. I know talking is vital, but I don't know how to overcome this issue. To be truthful, as a therapist, I guess the best way to describe this, I've debated on how to explain this. First things first, if she knows eating disorders, she knows that fat, ugly feeling or whatever is your eating disorder voice. It's not your healthy voice. So I never think, oh, that client thinks they're fat, they must think I'm huge. I never think that, because I think, oh, that's their eating disorder voice is taking over, and I feel sad for them because I know it's really hard, and I know that voice gets loud. And so she'll know that. And if she doesn't work with eating disorders a lot, it's also, she's going to at least realize that it's not you passing judgment on her, it's you passing judgment on you. And as a therapist, we don't think about it like that. I don't know how else to verbalize what I do, but just because a client has an issue with a certain type of person or a certain belief system or that's theirs. It's not mine. And for me to engage in that and to actually be like, oh, they think that I am and blah, 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 would be countertransference. And then I need to go to my therapist and say, hey, Jan, I'm having trouble with this, blah, blah, blah. So since you like your therapist and you think she's really good, you can start talking about this, because trust me, she's not going to think what you're worried that she's going to think. We don't assume that those thoughts you have for you are also projected onto us. Okay? I hope that makes sense. If not, you can ask some more clarification below, and I'll answer that question as well. Okay? Question number 3. I really want to talk and share about the struggles I have, but I'm scared about the possible consequences and where I'll actually end up emotionally. I am bursting to talk with someone, but my shyness and anxiety always gets in the way. I'll open up a little, but rarely all the way. What should I do? I hear this a lot. A lot of us are really worried to talk to anybody. That's why journaling is honestly so helpful, because we don't have to say it to a person. It's not a social situation. We can write it down and we can leave it for a bit. We can write down letters and we can share with our therapist if we struggle to talk that way. But also getting a therapist. It's one of those safe places where they're going to hold your confidentiality. They have your best interest in mind, and they're honestly just there to listen and ask questions to help you feel comfortable telling more. So I would do a couple of those things. I'd journal and I'd try to find a therapist. And I know it's hard, and I know we're nervous and we're anxious, but I promise If you check out any of my videos about starting therapy or building a therapeutic relationship, others will tell you it's never as scary as we think it's going to be, okay? We're nice people, I promise. We're not so scary. We just want to help. Question number 4. Specifically, do you notice traits such as being impulsive, people-pleasing, or extreme perfectionism? Do you think that these traits are more worrisome or severe when co-occurring with an eating disorder or self-harm? What are some ideas to handle parts of my personality that trigger my eating disorder and self-harm? Now, I thought this was interesting because a lot of you will ask, and there's been a lot of recent studies talking about genes and how they're noticing an actual genetic component when it comes to eating disorders, and I'm like, duh, I thought we knew that already, but they're getting a little bit more in depth. However, as far as personality traits, there are the normal ones, like the ones that we always hear about and people throw around a lot, and that is obviously OCD-like tendencies where we have to do things in a ritualistic way sometimes, or we have to keep everything lined up, or we have to brush our hair X amount of times, we have to look a certain way. There's all sorts of things that come along with it. Also, it can be, I made some notes here. Depression is really common, as well as anxiety. Also, the people-pleasing is something that's very common. Many people will have had been sexually abused in their past, and they use food or self-harm as a way to control that out-of-control feeling that they have when that was happening to them. And what else did I write down? Need to please others, difficulty dealing with conflict. Oh, this is the most important. Difficulty communicating negative emotions like anger, fear, what else did I put? Sadness. We have trouble talking about that. And so how do we speak? We speak through our actions and through our self-harm or eating disorder. Now, okay, so we know that. So yes, those things are more common and may, as a therapist looking at a new client, may make me more worrisome about her having an eating disorder or self-harm. But then what do we do? I think the first thing, honestly, is taking an inventory, a really honest inventory of ourselves and thinking, what things do we struggle with? And then talking with our therapist to create a plan for, let's say, the top 3. So let's say that our hardest one is dealing with conflict. So then I would work with my therapist to come up with a plan for how I can improve that. And then we'll practice it little by little with little tiffs we have with people and little disagreements, and figure out a better way to communicate and communicate more early so people know if you're upset before we feel like we're going to explode. Things like that. And you can do it little by little. And I know this is a lot of work and it's really hard, but because these are kind of traits that we've had for a long time and we've been doing a long time, it takes us a long time to, backtrack and get out of it. But it can be done. I personally, like I've said before in other videos, I don't like conflict and I'll try to avoid it to some extent. And I've worked really hard on my communication skills and communicating when I'm upset. And it's honestly given me such better results. And I'm much better when I say to people that I don't really like fighting. I didn't like that you said that and that kind of hurt my feelings and I took it this way. I get so much farther with things and it's amazing. So work with your therapist on it and create a treatment plan, and I hope that helps. And oh my gosh, I went to my P.O. box today and look at this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful journal. Look at all this work. Look at all these wonderful things. I love it. It's a journal for me. I'm excited. I really like this one. I like the wisdom with the T. But anyway, I got a wonderful gift, so thank you so much. And a beautiful letter, and the package was beautiful. I posted it on Instagram. If you want to see how beautiful that package was, you have to check it out. So thank you. I'm very excited to use this. Speaking of journal topics, and the person who gave me this, it was their idea to start the journal topics. So this is very fitting. The journal topic is, anyone can give up. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. But to hold it together when everyone else would understand if you fell apart, that's true strength. Now, we talk a lot about being positive and trying to focus on the positive and do positive things, but today I want to talk a little bit about strength and what's one way that today or this week you can challenge your strength. Is it, and I always make my notes, that's why I'm always looking over here. Is it distracting for that 1 minute longer than you were able to do before that you want to do? Is it speaking up for yourself when someone's really rude or puts you down? Is it fighting to finish that snack when you don't want to? Or is it, just helping someone else, brightening someone else's day? Whatever it is, I would challenge you to do that this week. And please share. Write it down, take a picture, and either tweet it to me or do it on Instagram and let me know. Okay, I love you all. Tomorrow is Thursday, and I will be on Twitter. So answer your questions using the hashtag KatieFAQ, and I will see you tomorrow. Love you. Bye.